It is so special to see you all and to join you all on Zoom. The wonders of modern technology. We can see it in the comfort of our home and join our friends, schmooze, kibitz, paint, and learn. So I remember the cold winter nights when I was juggling many different obligations and community events, and I savored the nights that I could stay in the comfort of my home and not have to go out and not have to get dressed and not have to meet anybody. I don't think I'm going to complain anymore about having to go out at night. So here we are bringing the event to you. It's a joy to see familiar faces from Boulder, as well as some from the Springfield Jewish community, as well as there might be some friends from in between, some other places. And it's really nice to share the night with you. A few weeks ago, I participated in a paint night with friends and with Rebbitzins across the globe. And when I signed up for the event, I was just looking for something different to do. You know, with COVID, you seem to be doing the same things. I'm afraid to say I'm a little allergic to Zoom because I sort of feel like too much Zoom. I really want to see people and interact and not just, get some tape, whatever. I'm just tired of COVID. I know I want it to be over. And when I signed up, I really didn't expect much from the evening because while I'm a little creative, I am not good at painting or at drawing. And in fact, my family sometimes will do a paint night and I watch them. I get so much enjoyment watching everyone work and paint, and I'm really happy just watching. But then when I took this class, I was pleasantly surprised and I learned real tips. And I figured, wow, if dummies like me can figure out how to paint from Tanya teaching me step by step how to do it, then any of you and any of us will really do well and really enjoy it. In fact, I believe that our life is like a masterful piece of art. We carefully add color, life, and the appropriate strokes to everyone we meet. So Tanya, who's on this, hi. Tanya, can you hear me? Okay, she is on, I see it, okay. She joins us all the way from Toronto, and she comes into our homes to guide us on how to bring out our inner creativity in our souls. So I look forward to sharing the journey with all of you. I bring you into my house. Zara brings you into her home, and we have here a few of my children. My husband is hopefully going to also join us. And I look out, I just tell you to look out for some interesting inspiration during the painting night. So enjoy.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Chani. Hi, everybody. My name is Tanya. Chani already really did a good job introducing what this event is all about. But yes, just to add to it, if anyone here has never done a paint night, it is a really cool activity because it's an art workshop that's done in one session and is actually designed for people who, whether they have artistic ability or none whatsoever. So this is not paint by numbers, how one would think something like this would actually happen. But this is, the way this is gonna happen tonight is I'm gonna do a step-by-step demonstration of this beautiful painting. Well, I'll explain in just a second, on this white canvas. And yeah, hopefully you'll all have your own masterpieces that you could be proud of by the end of the evening. So these are Shabbat candles. It was inspired by one of my favorite artists, Romero Brito. If any of you know him, he's a very famous Brazilian pop artist who has a gallery in Florida, which I hope to visit once he could travel again. So it was inspired by his work. He's a pop artist, and that's very special theme for us to do tonight. So I'm actually going to mute everyone just for the beginning of this class, if that's okay. So you have the ability to unmute at any point to ask a question, and we will be schmoozing and listening to music throughout. But for the beginning, part of this painting. It is extremely step-by-step, the drawing part that we're going to do with a permanent marker. So there'll be no talking, only listening very carefully for the first little bit until we get our drawing on with our marker. And after that, things will get a little bit more relaxed. If anyone wants to turn on whose camera is not on, I highly encourage you to turn on. If you don't want it to point at you, your shirt cannot be messier than mine, which is always covered in paint, no matter if it's a new one, non-new one. I just get covered in paint in 2 minutes. If you could point the camera down at your paintings, that way, if you have any questions, I could easily answer them. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So if you could see here, there is a white border around the canvas. I don't know if everybody has, I know we're all over here. So this is not a necessity to have this white border on the painting, but if you happen to have painter's tape in your kit, you can just, you can follow along just for this first step. But if you don't have it, it'll be, there's no, they're both really cool with and without it. The white the border just gives it like a little bit of a different effect, but you will follow along just the same. So for those of you who don't have it, you will learn just by watching us put on, not that it's so difficult, and then we'll resume all together. So just before we start, those of you who have the painter's tape, if you could just rip off 4 pieces of tape and cover the last, all 4 sides of your canvas. So I'm gonna just pick this up. You basically just wanna go to the last inch and pat it down real well. If you see here, I wrapped it around the sides if it was a little too long. And then I'm going to take 4 more pieces. Obviously, I wanna go a little bit longer for the sides, since I know that these ones are gonna just be a little longer. And I'm gonna do it here as well. And that's obviously, painter's tape is the only tape you could use with painting because it will come off easily without ripping off the paint. So artists use it, but it is pretty light and it may actually start to pop off a little bit. So we'll just pat it down really well. Okay, so I'm looking just to make sure. I'm going to put you all in gallery mode to make sure we're all ready. You can give me a thumbs up when you are. I see some people putting it on. Thank you. I'm going to wait another minute, if that's okay, just for those of you who are still putting it on. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Did you just join?
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Yes,
Hi, Cindy.
hello. I was reading with my son, and because I've got this table in his room and supplies, I'm going to try to join in.
I don't have any supplies, but I've got my pens.
It'll still be fun to watch. You'll learn a lot, even if you don't have the supplies. Okay, so once we have our tape, we're gonna begin. What you wanna do is pick up your permanent marker. We're gonna do this freehand, right? So even though I'm gonna say words like 1 inch, 2 inches, but if you get it close to where I'm getting, it'll still turn out really cool. So what you wanna try to do is find the middle of your canvas. I know that may be difficult to do without a ruler, but you really want to just try to find the approximate area that you think where the middle would be. And once you're there, you just want to make a little dot with your permanent marker. So it's really should be a very small dot, one that you could see, but I necessarily wouldn't see from where I am. And I'm going to just make mine a little bit bigger, just so that you can see my dot. Not to show you that it's a big dot. So with this type of painting, we always need to identify where the center of the painting is. And now that we have that dot, we're gonna go up about 2 inches. So if you're not sure what 2 inches is, right, without a ruler, it's about the length of your thumb from the base to the top. The average thumb is about 2 inches. So we're going to make another dot about 2 inches long, and that is going to determine the height of our candles without the flames, okay? So we've made that determination. So we're gonna make our dots. So now you are left with 2 dots, one in the middle and one 2 inches above. A couple more dots and we're going to start drawing. So once we are at the 2-inch mark above, we're gonna make 2 more little dots. This time, we're gonna go 1 inch to the left. So that's gonna be half, whatever you did here, make it half. 1 to the left, much less space, and then 1 to the right, and you're going to make another dot. So we've determined what the space is gonna be now in between our candles, and you may be wondering, well, what about these dots? You will cover them with your center line at the end. So now we have these 3 dots, and what we want to do with the 2 dots that are from left and the right of the center is we want to just paint a straight line. So don't look at the tape. Whatever canvas you have, you want to just, whatever space you're working with, you want to just try to do your best to draw a straight line that takes about that goes about halfway across whatever space you're working with. Okay, so I saw that I was ending here, so I'm gonna go about halfway, and obviously if I didn't have green tape, this line would end up being a little longer to take up half the space. And once you have that, we are gonna do the same thing on the right side. So we're gonna go now not to the center dot, we're gonna go to the one on the right, and we are now going to make another line that goes about halfway across the entire section. So whatever is left, you're just gonna go halfway. And right now we've determined, right, the width of our candlesticks. So if you look at the painting behind me, I want you to pay attention to how long they go. So if you were to look really at the tops of these lines that you drew and the bottom of your canvas, if you were to put your finger halfway down that space, that would be like a good place to stop at first. I might make you extend the candles a little more because on the painting, they're a little bit longer than the holders, but that's a good place to start. So we're gonna go to both sides of this line, and we're now gonna make a vertical line, and we're going to stop at around the place where my finger is. And once you're there, you could extend about 1 inch because we would like the candles to be a little bit longer than the holders that they're sitting on. So that has set you up for the length. And the cool thing is now you just have to do a parallel line on the other side and then repeat that entire step on your other candle. So we're gonna go down very slowly. You're trying to keep the same amount of space away. And you can close it off right away as soon as you get to the bottom. And obviously you would probably wanna make the second candlestick the same length. All right.
Yours are so even.
I have to say I've done this a little more than once, but yeah, there really is, the only trick to get them even is to go a little bit more slow. If you're not sure, I would suggest going halfway, and sometimes without even realizing you may be on a slant and you don't even know until you're at the end. So that's why it's better to take it a little slow, make sure that you're still at that same distance, and then continue.
They want to show those.
Candles are drunk.
Your candlesticks are drunk. Okay, so far they all look good to me. Maybe there's some that I'm not seeing, but so far so good. Now we are going to make some holders. Like we want our candlesticks to sit on something. So this part is going to be a little bit more straightforward because you're going to basically do the same thing on the left and the right. What we're going to do first is we're just going to make two little lines on the left and the right side of the bottom here. So we're basically extending that line that was holding the candle. We're making it about 1/2 inch on the left, 1/2 inch on the right, and you're going to do the same thing on the candle on the right side. If you see, I still have a space now between the candlestick holders. If you can go a little bit longer, some of you may be able to, if your gap is a bit bigger than mine, you can go a little bit longer, but make sure that you're still leaving some sort of space in the middle, right? They're not touching. And now, as you can see behind me, we're going to turn that line into a half semicircle. So we're going to do this a very strategic way. We're going to first go to the middle of the line. You're going to make about a 2 inch, or it could be like 1.5 inches. It doesn't have to be actually any specific length. And I'll show you why. This is just going to set us up for our semicircle. So once you have your dots, you can watch me first. You're going to carefully take it from one corner to the dot. You're going to stop. If you want it to look even on both sides, you're going to then go to the left and you're going to try to do the same thing or close to the same thing on the left. Now, doesn't matter how big this part is, it just means you're going to have a smaller bottom. And we all know that Shabbos candle holders come in all different designs, and one wouldn't be wrong. So if yours ends up being a little bit thinner or wider than mine, that would be okay. And now you're going to start, it's better to start the same way again, is whatever length you left over here in the center, you're going to leave the same length, make your dot, you have your destination point, and you're going to take it from one side, nice and slow, to the other. Okay. So now we have our holders. Let me check in on everyone. Looks good from what I see. Excellent. And now at the bottom, I'm going to show you this in one step so you can determine how big you want everything. But essentially, we're going to fit 3 shapes now on the bottom. We're going to go to the center of each holder all the way to the bottom. And I would recommend going from the bottom about like 1/2 inch, making a dot and making a smaller semicircle, this time the opposite way. And on top, I'll leave this to everyone. You need to somehow fit a little circle and a triangle directly on top. That is what you are connecting the semicircle to. So you can wind up with a bigger base here, which would mean your triangle would be a little bit thinner and smaller, and that would be fine. But if you're doing something similar to what I just did and that's on the painting, again, we're going center down. When you're about 1/2 inch away from the bottom, you're just going to make a little dot, draw out your little semicircle, place your little circle right on top, make your straight line centered, looks like it's balancing a line, and then we're connecting with a triangle. So now we have our holders, very good. Now we just need our flames and we are ready to chop this painting up burrito style, okay? So lots of pop art have these lines and divisions to create color. So we're almost there. Let's just add our flames. So at the top, what you want to start with is about like a little 1/2 inch line on both candles around the middle. Like so, center them right in the middle. And something about the flames, we're not going to freehand this. I want you to look at the back. So according to the original painting that's behind me, the flame, if I were to take my finger from the top of the wick, it would pretty much go like from the top of the wick, at least half the remaining section on the canvas, at least half is how tall it's going to be. So if you want to make sure that you don't wind up with a small flame, what you would do first is go above your wick, first draw a little dot so you know how high you're going, how tall your flame is going to be. And then once you have that destination, you're going to do something very similar to what you did with the semicircle. You're going to build a half circle right on top of your wick. Now it can be a little bit more narrow or a little bit wider than mine. It's up to you how big you want that flame to be. And then you're just going to connect it to the top like a little, almost like a triangular shape. And we're gonna add these like inner flame, like this second color in the fire. So all we're going to do is right inside the middle, you're just gonna make these two curved lines that are basically just equal in length, and they're just facing each other. That's just gonna be how we're gonna add the orange into the flame. And as soon as you're done, you could redraw the second flame. So to recap, first we make our dot. That is going to be our destination for the height. And this is going to just be in line with the flame on the left. Once I have my dot, I'm going to make my big semicircle for the bottom of my flame. And then I'm going to just connect. Excellent. Very good. So almost there. Everyone has such different shapes, but they all really do look like Shabbos candles. It's really cool to see how this comes together. So let's move on so we could start painting and talking. A few quick more steps and we're ready to paint. So what we want to do now, if you see behind me, there's a line right in the middle of the candles. So I know we didn't give you guys rulers or anything or pencils for a reason. But what you want to try to do is try your best to try to get a line right in the middle of the candles. My recommendation is to take it slow for that first line. So you basically try to find the middle at the top of the canvas. You may end up going right over those two dots that you had, or you may end up going right next to them. You obviously want to aim to cover them, but just so you know, we will be outlining these permanent marker lines in black paint. So if your line's a little wobbly, don't be upset. This is not going to be the lines that you're going to see on your painting when this is done. We will be painting over them. Awesome. So when you have your middle, now we're going to do our two diagonal lines. These ones are going to come from the top left corner down to the bottom middle, and the same thing on the right side. So don't worry so much about where this line ends up splitting on the candle. It'll be fine wherever it splits. That's just how the style of art is. Mine happened to always split at the same point. So if you want to make sure that you don't head to the middle of this line by accident, take it slow, stop when you're a little bit maybe into the candle, and make sure you're on a good angle that you could make it down to the bottom. So most times people may curve a little bit too close to the center at first, and then they can't really make it down to the bottom. So that's why you want to try to take it slow. So if you have to shift your line or curve it a little bit to get there, you can. And if anyone's line split on their flame, it'll be great. You're just gonna have more colors in your flames than us who it didn't. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And now two more lines. These ones are gonna go from the left and the right at the middle point. So wherever the middle is, like whatever space you have from the top to the bottom of your canvas, go to the middle. And then again, right through the candlestick holders, make it right down to the bottom. That same destination. And you're going to do the same thing on the right side. Wherever it splits on the holder is fine. Let it be a natural occurrence. And and then one more. And when I say one, I obviously mean two because we're repeating every step twice. So whatever space you are left with here on the left side, go to the middle, and we're going to make one more line to the bottom center, and the same thing on the right side. So it will get a little crowded in this area. It will start to look pretty crowded over here. And I'm just going to put this down for one moment. So I'm actually going to pick up all the paintings for now. And I'll tell you why, is because I don't want anyone, when we're going to start painting in solid colors, I don't want anyone to be confused as to what to paint, because there's patterns here that might be confusing.
Where's the other one?
So we're not doing patterns now. We are just painting in solid colors. So the common colors that are on all the options are going to be what I'm going to show you right now. So everyone is actually going to start off painting only this, what I'm holding up. And then you will have the opportunity to either add purple, blue, or whatever color you want as that extra color on these three areas. So we'll get to that when we get to that. What we want to do is just copy what I have up here at the front before I reveal the paintings again, okay? So if everyone just looks at the painting, you're going to pick up, just to get you started, so I can give you a break of my teaching just for a little bit. You can really use any brush for solid color painting. I would recommend any 1/2 inch brush that you have in your set. So it shouldn't be too small because you want to feel nice and free painting. And when you get to your smaller areas, you may pick up a smaller brush that looks similar to your medium one if it helps you get into the smaller areas, okay? So we're going to start painting the colors that you should already have, which are primary colors. So you all should have yellow, red, and dark blue, okay? So hopefully you have those colors. You may not have orange or light blue because those are secondary colors that we have to make. So let's start by painting yellow, and I'll show you just quickly how to do it. You basically take paint, put a little bit on your plate. You're going to only wash and dry your brush between colors, but to start, you can use a dry brush. Just pick up a little paint, look at the section that's going to be shown up here, and you want to have a nice, free, you really don't want to paint with very little paint. You want it to flow, and you don't want to be so careful to get in the lines because, like I said, we are going to be painting over these lines, and the section will dry up very quickly when you get to your next color. So speed is more important. So you have time to work on, your patterns more, okay? So that's going to be it for me. Wash your brush between colors, and we will resume together once everyone has the colors up here. So I'm gonna move this a little closer so you see it a little bit more clearly. And if anyone needs any sort of clarification on what color is where, like where the yellow is, just feel free to unmute and ask, okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm working with colored pens.
Okay.
So I have the yellow and I have the blue, pretty exact. However, I don't have an orange. I have a red and a pink. So what would be better? I would think a red, but I thought I would check.
Well, red you would do for the flame, but for the inner flame, you could either do yellow again or pink would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, either color. And don't forget the little rays that are coming. It kind of continues if you see here. And you should be able to do most of this with your with the same brush. You don't need to switch to the very small brushes to do this.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn on a little bit of music. If anyone wants to speak, I will lower it just a little bit.
Thank you so much. This is so fun. I haven't done this in years.
מאיתנו בוערת אמונה מבפנים. לאן שלא אלך זה מלווה אותי, ביום ובלילה, ואהבת ישראל תנצח, אהבה שלא די לה. כי אני יהודי, כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי, אני לא מוצא את האור. כל מה שיביאו לי, כל מה שיגידו לי, כלום לא יעזור. כי אני יהודי, רק איתכם אני רוצה, רק איתכם אני מוצא אור. זה זמן גאולה, ניצת בתפילה קדימה אחים, שיום יבוא וכל אחד מאיתנו יגלה את האור מבפנים. אז בוא לכאן אחי, כן רק תלך איתי ונעלה עד למעלה. אהבת ישראל תנצח, אהבה שלא די לה. כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי, אני לא מוצא את האור. כל מה שיביאו לי, כל מה שיגידו לי, כלום לא יעזור. כי אני יהודי, רק איתכם אני רוצה, רק איתכם אני מוצא אור. כי אני יהודי, כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי, אני לא מוצא את האור. כי אני יהודי, כולם אחים שלי פה, וכשאני לעצמי, אני לא מוצא את האור. כל מה שיביאו לי, כל מה שיגידו לי, כלום לא יעזור. כי אני יהודי, רק איתכם אני רוצה, רק איתכם אני מוצא אור.
אנא מלך, אנא מלך מלכי המלכים, אנא מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא אנא מלך, אנא מלך, אנא מלך, אנא מלך מלכי המלכים, אנא מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא אנא מלך.
אליך קיווינו, כי אתה בינו.
Sarah, are you speaking to the camera?
Yeah, I was. Sorry. Thanks
okay.
for. I figured. I thought for some reason I muted. So I wanted to share some Purim insights, but I figured I'd ask you before chiming in if you wanted to say something before we.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to just say one thing.
Sure.
Only so that we could resume once you're actually finished. So I'm just going to give that just very quickly what the next step is going to be. So I just want to make sure everyone is set up to paint this entire whatever is here. So like I said, if you do not have orange, I'm just going to just quickly show you how to make orange and how to make light blue. They're both very simple to make. So just watch here so you know, because so you know what to do. If you don't have orange, you're going to take a drop of red and mix it into some yellow. And right away, you will get orange. So a drop of red into more yellow. There is your orange. And all you need to do to get light blue is to mix a little bit of this blue with a little bit of white. Mix the white and the blue together. And in 2 seconds, you'll already start to see a light blue. As long as there's contrast, that's your color. So I'll put the screen very close. So that everyone can see while we hear some words, okay? Sarah?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I just wanted to chime in. I figured we'd take a little, it doesn't have to be a break because like Tanya said, you could continue painting how she advised. But Tanya, before I say something, do you mind making Mendy Turin host? That's my husband. He's going to share a video in 2 minutes, and he needs to be the host in order to do that.
No worries.
Under Chabad Springfield.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So we're going to watch a short little video about the Purim story. So as you saw from the emails, this is called a Purim paint night because not only are we having a really awesome paint night, which is really fun. I haven't painted in such a long time and I'm enjoying every minute. But we also wanted to tie in the upcoming holiday of Purim and share a few insights and review the story, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. But we had a really cute video, a song actually, that goes through the Purim story in less than 5 minutes. And I figured you could watch it while you're painting as well. And then I will quickly say the Purim story. And after that, we have a few really exciting things in store. But we will go back to Tanya first so that she can advise us how to continue painting before we continue to share different Purim ideas. So with that introduction, if Mendy could share this Purim story. Make sure you're on the home screen so you could see it.
What's your evil plan? You gotta stop
minister. He was evil, very sinister. He made a plan to get all the Jews. This guy was a piece of bad news. La 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 la. Hey man, what's your evil plan? You got to stop all your scheming and dreaming, man. You said bow to me and to top banana, but on Mordecai he don't wanna. Berosh made a feast. Everyone came from west and east. Everybody said, come on, let's go. But our Mordecai said, no, no. The king said, Vashti, please come down to my party and dance around. But Queen Vashti would not come, and so she made the king look dumb. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum, de-dum, dum-de-dum, de-dum, de-dum, dum. The king said, I will get a new queen, one who will not make a scene. So he sent out a royal decree. Let all the young girls come to me. Esther, Esther, you're the best in the international queen contest. God made the king forget all the rest. Now he puts you to the test. Hey man, what's your evil plan? You got to stop all your scheming and dreaming, man. You made a plot to get every Jew. You cast a lot, but it came back on you. La 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 la. Mordecai saw that God had placed Esther in the palace just in case. He asked her to plead and intercede with the king to save the Jewish race. God made everything turn around. God turned everything upside down. Before the dawn, everything looked black. Then we will say, from Haman's attack. Purim time comes in the spring. On that day we were redeemed in a secret way. God saved the day. So come on now, everyone sing. La 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 la.
All righty. Yes, I think that was a fun video. I don't know about you guys. I hope you enjoyed it too. But the Purim story is a really fun one. Thank you, Shulami. I like the thumbs up. It's a great story to review. Every single year we get to remember God's miracles, how he saved us from Haman's evil plan against the Jewish people. And in this story, it wasn't only a fraction of the Jews who were at risk. It was the entire Jewish nation. So when Purim comes around once a year, we remember these events. And as we all know, Purim is a really fun holiday. We dress up. That's our custom to dress up to show how things were all turned around. In the beginning, the Jewish people were going to all be killed by the king Ahasuerus. And through Esther, who was a Jewish queen, we were all saved, and the story turned around, and instead of Haman killing the Jews, Haman himself was hung. So I think that's the real short version of the Purim story. There's lots of great details if you haven't ever learned about it before, but I won't take too much of your time because we have this beautiful painting waiting for its next step. So Tanya, I will give the screen and the mic to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Sarah. All right, so I don't know where everyone is holding, but I feel like most of you may be done. I know we paint at different speeds here. Very nice. Thanks for everyone who's showing me. They're looking great. So this is the part where you actually get to choose your main color. This is going to be the part that makes the difference. So I'm going to just tilt the screen back. Let me just see, make sure I'm big. Okay, so if you see behind me, we have 3 options. Now you could obviously, if you know anything about like mixing colors and you want to make up a color that's not up here, you could choose any color. I have blue, I have purple, and then on the top I have pink. So if you have blue, you should have a blue ready to go. You would basically just paint the blue. On 3, don't be confused by the patterns. You would paint them on the 3 remaining rays that are not white. So that's going to be sorry, not this. This is going to leave white. Top left, over here on the right side, and then at the bottom corner. So don't by accident paint over the white rays. Just the 3 sections that are your color. I just want to make sure, am I big for everybody? Do you guys want to, can everyone see me in large?
Yeah.
You can? Okay. So if anybody, anybody wants to just choose their color, it's very simple to make purple and pink if you don't have it. So if you're using purple, all you would do is take your same medium brush. You would mix 50% blue and 50% red together, and you would have purple instantly, right? And you would just use that dark, whatever purple you get is the purple you would use. If you are doing a pink, all you would do is mix red with a little bit of white. So I wouldn't want you to make it too light because we have some lighter patterns that are going to go on top of there. So although it's lighter than red, you don't want to end up with something that is just too light. So only add a little bit of white. And as soon as you start to get this like bazooka color, obviously it needs to be a color that you like, then you can go ahead and start painting your remaining section. So I'm going to paint mine personally in purple, and you guys can choose any other color. So this is the last thing that we are going to be painting before we get to add patterns. And then after the patterns, we obviously get to do the outline, which really pulls the whole thing together. So as soon as you have your color, I'm just going to quickly mark it, everybody, so you see where this new color is going.
Are you going to paint the dots over it, or do you leave white
Yeah,
areas?
we're gonna. Oh yeah, no. The patterns are going to be done after. So you want to basically just paint solid color still. And what you're going to basically be doing with the patterns is you're essentially just going to be lightening whatever color you just used. You're going to be lightening it with a little bit of white, and that's going to be the color of your pattern that's going to go on top. So don't worry about the dots just yet. Just use your straight solid color.
But I'll just have to.
Bless you.
Oh. I didn't know my audio was on. Sorry.
The good thing about Zoom is nobody knows whose audio it is. So if your baby's crying or who knows, I always say that if my baby cries during the class, I'll blame it on someone else. You never really know whose audio is on.
I didn't. Yeah.
I feel like in this situation, you do know who that was.
Seriously.
My kids are enjoying the paint night.
Whose kids are painting? Is that Sarah? Your kids are painting?
Yeah.
See?
Tina, you want?
Hi, cuties. Are you having fun?
Yes, what about you? I don't know if their painting is as good as mine, but you know, they're working on it.
So funny thing is, I always said that I would wait till my kids are at least 6 before ever hosting a paint night for their birthday.
I have another one.
That's funny. How old are your kids?
Mommy, can I have another
3. So I did a paint night for my 3-year-old on Zoom, and I made a note to the parents to basically to make their kids think that they're helping, but really do the painting and want to look nice. So, the kids thought they helped, but it was still very cute.
Oh, that's so cute.
No doubt my son could do this.
We're having family paint night. It's great.
They always have fun regardless of what the finished product looks like.
Yeah. Listen, I started off with your outline, and then I figure that I'll probably do the actual painting later now that my kids are so involved.
Well, yeah, the outline I would say is probably the hardest part because you're doing it freehands, right? Like that would be the part.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I did. My husband was watching the kids. I did that, and then I'm like, okay, the kids can paint now. That's fun.
And if you don't want paint all over your house and carp, you probably should supervise it.
Yeah, don't worry. My husband and I are both having fun over here. Yeah, I just got them some more paper. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm taking all your screen time. I'm just having too much fun talking to you. I'll give you the mic now.
Well, I ran out of some colors I don't have, so it got a little.
What color did you use?
Well, I was going for a kind of purple, but purplish brownish. The white is very short supply. There is basically no white anymore. So
you need the white. Is there another color you could use there? You don't need it.
I used the white for the light blue, and so now that it has come to it, while that was what was going on.
Ah, okay.
Different. So what I have here is.
So pro tip, by the way, if you ever want paint to extend, you just add a little bit of water to it. If you find that you're running out of a certain color, like let's say you want more of a color, you put it, whatever is left of it, and you mix it with water.
Yeah, I did do some of that. I'm afraid that what happened was that some of his paints were dried out, and these were ones I got more recently for another project. And so you're absolutely right. It's just this particular. This was kind of inspired by the art supplies I already had or thought I had in the house.
Well, you know what? You're still learning. And you know what? I still think that once the tape comes off and we do the black outline, there's something about that outline at the end that really just like pulls it together. What is that?
You see, there's a picture of a dragon actually on it teaching an art class, or the art girl drawing the dragon. It was a sketchbook that I'd gotten him some years ago.
That's awesome.
I didn't have an entire canvas ready to go.
Oh, you're on the sketchbook. Very smart.
So
very smart. They have sketchbooks that are just canvases nowadays. I don't use them because then I would have to tape them to some sort of cardboard, but it is cool what they have now in terms of painting sketchbooks.
Yes, well, I wasn't sure if I was ready to invest in my own art skills, not having been so in practice, but thank you for getting me this far.
I know. The good thing about painting, I guess, is that if you want to get into it, I never thought that I can't believe the amazing stuff that you can make with the lower grade paints. It's incredible. Like, I always thought you really had to buy that, if you go to an art store, if you see a brand called Golden, really to buy like a little tube of paint, if anyone here paints knows how crazy expensive it is. You're basically like paying like $30 for one color. It makes anyone not really want to start painting because you need so many colors. But if you're just getting into painting or you want to, and you just want to look at YouTube videos, the student grade acrylic paint is just incredible for learning, and the results that come from it are just, I was blown away myself. I was shocked. When I started doing paint night, I said, I could never sell kits. It would cost like, $300 a kit. No one was going to go for it.
I totally know what you mean. All of my miniatures paints are dumb expensive.
Is this paint for, what do you paint?
I paint miniatures.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Where do you get the miniatures from?
It's actually for a game. At least the ones that I get. There's a game called Warhammer that I've been playing since I was a kid.
Okay.
But like, Hobby Town and a couple other places you can buy just usually like Dungeons and Dragons themed miniatures. And if you have a 3D printer, there's like all kinds of things all over the internet for printing out models. But yeah, like this paint that I just bought today, this was $6.
Yeah, it's definitely
like
believable.
An ounce of paint.
An ounce, exactly. It's crazy how expensive, and it also depends on the colors. Like you're shocked. Like
Yeah,
one red can cost like
yeah.
$15, and then another red can cost like 4 times the amount.
Yeah, this is 0.6 ounces, and this was like $5.
Yeah.
But with a miniature, with my thumb for scale, I've had this bottle of paint for like 5 years.
This is making
my red is.
What are we supposed to be doing?
I mean, that being said, this is my paintbrush.
So, well, yeah, it shouldn't take too much. It should take you quite a bit to paint it with that brush for sure.
Yeah.
Did someone just ask what we're doing now?
Yes, I did, because I must have come in a minute in. Sorry.
It's okay. So where did you leave off in your painting?
I didn't.
Oh, you just started now?
Yeah.
Oh, so what are we doing? Well, we've been, how long have we been painting for already? A while, maybe an hour. So we did yeah, we did a whole drawing already.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Are you have experience sketching? Would you want to sketch it out with a permanent marker?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my bad.
So everyone, just give me a thumbs up, I guess, when you're finished. That's a thumbs down. Does that mean you're like far from finished?
No, I'm close, but it's turning out very different. Let's put it that way.
Well, you're using markers. That's going to be a new one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be new. What am I doing wrong here? I missed the line here.
Make some of the dots.
I ruler out.
So we're supposed to do, can you show me where we're supposed to do the purple background or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says 6 p.m. right there. Idiot.
Okay. So if someone wants to know where to put the purple paint, so it's purple or blue or whatever color you're using for your painting, you're basically just putting it in 3 of the background rays. One that's behind the candle on the left, and then one at the bottom left corner, and one at the right. So you're going from behind all the way down. So you're and that's it really. Like it's basically just copy where it is. They go behind the holder.
Okay, those 3 places. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
Mud and purple, but maybe when it gets on the canvas, will be.
You need to do it like one to one.
Yeah, I did it 1 to 1, and then I added a little bit more.
Okay. This is going to be very different.
Probably one of the very few players that don't have any of. Otherwise,
I'm just going to try and put some more red on in it to make it a little bit brighter.
I'm still internally laughing about the person that just showed up.
Yeah, so typical. Although she might be in a different time zone. For that possibility. Okay, yeah, this is more purpley.
Not just me, my sisters and my brothers, never be ashamed to be a proud Jew. what you've done. It's how he made you to sing the song and spread the pride around you. Yehudi ani, eternally. Abraham, Yitzhak v'Yaakov, b'nei Sarah Rivka, Abraham, Yitzhak v'Yaakov, b'nei Sarah Rivka, Ivri Onoichi v'Yetz Hashem, Elikei Hashamayim ani yoreh. 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 Ivri Onoichi v'Yetz Hashem, Elikei Hashamayim ani I'm a Jew and I'm proud, and I sing it out loud, 'cause forever and ever, that's what I'll be. I'm a Jew and I'm proud, and without a doubt, Hashem is always watching over me.
So Tanya, do you mind stopping the music?
Of course not.
Okay, thank you. So we were trying to get my mother to come on, and I was really excited about that. But I guess some technical difficulties. I guess doing Zoom on her own, there were some problems, and unfortunately, I can't just run over. My mother lives in Brooklyn, and so we're going to have to figure out a different time when you can hear her speak. But this event is in loving memory of my grandfather, my mother's mother, my father, and his yahrzeit is tomorrow night, I believe. And I asked my sister to represent my mother and just convey, to be instead of my mother. But before, no one could be instead of my mother, but just to give you a little taste of what my family was like, what my grandfather was like. So before I turn over the screen to my sister, I just have to tell you that it's amazing. My grandfather passed away when I was only, I believe I was in 8th grade. And he was larger than life, and suddenly he passed away. It was, he had a heart condition, but to me, it was a majorly big shock. And when I think back to my grandfather, I have such warm, fuzzy memories. And I just, I remember him as a person with a twinkle in his eye who made every grandchild feel like they were his favorite. And his home, when we came to his home, my grandmother and my grandfather's home, it was really a place of laughter and fun and joy, and there was always stuff going on. He was like the magnet, I think, of the family. And even when I go back, I had wanted to ask my mother about what it was like, what she found that his home was like, and what Purim was like in his home. I just know that although I wasn't that old when he passed away, I remember Purim in his home, in my grandparents' home, was just something special. The energy, the food, the company, the laughter, the camaraderie, the joy was just something else. And so I would like to ask my sister, Simi, who's from British Columbia, to just tell us a little about my grandfather, and also give us a glimpse of what Purim was like in my grandparents' home and transport you to that reality, as well as answer one more thing, and that is how she feels that my grandfather was from Vienna and came after the war. They had to be in, they were in a DP camp, I believe, in Switzerland. They had to smuggle in, and how my grandfather, what she thought, like how he rebuilt his family and, after the war. So these are just a few little things that we don't have a lot of time. I just want to give you a sense, a feeling of what it's like, where I come from, where Sarah comes from, where like in, the family that, the reality that I remembered. So Simi, if you don't mind, are you on? Do we need to share?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, Chani, I'm not sure why you thought you needed me to add to your words, because you already gave a beautiful introduction to who our grandfather, we called him Papa, and then the next generation sort of called him Zaidi Goldworm, who he was. Especially, it's hard, as Chani said, he was larger than life, and hard to condense someone who's larger than life into 5 minutes or less. But I'll share a few tidbits. I'm humbled to be here in the place of my mother. I definitely can't take her place, but she is on the phone listening, so I better not mess up. But Chani really said it beautifully. My grandfather was someone who was just so lively and vivacious. He was also brilliant. As a young boy, he was known as, in Hebrew, they call him the Eloi in Vienna. He was just wise beyond his years. And later on, much later on in America, as I grew up, I just remember that he wouldn't let us get away without really thinking into what we were saying. You couldn't just say something that made no sense. So he taught us how to think, not in a harsh way, with a sense of humor, but he definitely taught us that you have to think about the words that you say. There's a lot of stories, a lot of memories, but for the 5 minutes that we have, or less at this point, I'll just share a few beautiful stories. Some of them during the war, and then one story that I was reminded of last night, which I thought was just beautiful. So during the war, they were on the run. There was a point where my grandfather had left Vienna, and he had gotten out of the imminent danger. He was in France, but then eventually he met up with the family, and they had to still get from France to Switzerland during very perilous times. So at a time like that, you try your best to shelter your family, and that's enough. But what really struck me was at that point, there was a man and his son that approached my grandparents, my grandfather specifically, and said, I see that your family has this huge blessing that you're all together and you're all intact. They were running, it was my grandparents and 2 great-grandmothers. That means my grandfather and my grandmother's mothers were with them, as well as their children. They had 3 children with them at the time. And this man who approached them said, I see that your family is intact. You must have a very special blessing, special protection. I want to join that. I need that blessing. I need that protection. Please let us run together with you. And this, of course, was putting their family into much greater danger, because the more people you have, the more dangerous it is, the more likely that you will be found. But my grandfather didn't even think for a moment, and he thought, look, I have to have Rahmanis, I have to have compassion on this man and his son, because they asked. And in fact, it was risky, because later on, my mother was just telling us yesterday how they were in a truck. There were people who were paid to smuggle them, and they put them in a truck under a bunch of crates. They were empty crates that were returning from some delivery. And the guards, the Germans, did realize that there were people hiding there. But this was a truck, and God was protecting them. So when the family saw that the Germans were onto them, Most of them managed to escape from the back of the truck and just run. But this older man that had joined the family, the man and his son, but the man himself was a little older and he didn't realize it, and he did not get out in time. The son did. My grandparents and the kids and the grandmothers got out in time. But this man was taken. He was taken by, I believe it was German. Let me just check with my mother, make sure they were German soldiers. Are they German soldiers? French soldiers, French guards. But they're on the German side. That's what, okay. They were French police. And so this man was in grave danger. Now, a normal reaction probably would be, look, I have a family. I have mothers, 2 grandmothers. I have these kids. I better just keep running and not worry about the man, because we're all in danger and then they can kill all of us. But my grandfather did not feel that he could do that. He had compassion. He knew that a Yid cares about everybody. And so he went. He spoke a little bit of French. He went out and tried to plead on behalf of this older man to the guards. And then my mother, who's on the phone right now, who's about 11, felt, you know what, maybe I will be able to appeal to their better side. Maybe I'll be able to do something. My mother had blonde hair, blue eyes. She went out, she started to cry, and she said, look, this is my grandfather. Please let him go. We need him. We need to go. And she pleaded. She did whatever she could. And somehow God had mercy and opened up a little place in the heart of this French soldier who said, you know, I also have a daughter around your age. I also have family. And somehow he had this little ounce of compassion that was enough to let them go. And he says, you guys, I'm going to just make believe I don't see you, and you guys run. And somehow, with God's mercy, they all managed to get out of there and escape that at that time. There were other stories. There are many stories they went through, and I marvel. I constantly asked my mother, and I said, Ma, how is it that you all were so steadfast in your Yiddishkeit, in your trust in God, after all that you went through? And my mother always makes it as if like, what question was there? Of course we knew God was with us. Of course we knew that God was protecting us. I always ask, while you were running, how did you really feel Shabbat? I mean, you didn't have foods and you didn't have all the beautiful things that we have available at our fingertips today to make a beautiful Shabbat. But my mother says somehow my parents always, and that of course includes my grandfather, Yosef David, Ben Rav Moshe, his memory should be for a blessing, his neshama should have an aliyah, that he always made things fun and things special. And if they did ever get any sort of food that they could save, and they would say, this is for Shabbos. So these are just some of the little, another wartime story, just a little bit that I'll say is when they were in France, my grandfather did get to a shul at one point. They were hiding out. I don't even know if you can call it living, but they were hiding out in a little apartment where there were mice running around. It was a tiny little, it was probably the size of my family room. All of them together with, I believe, one mattress, mice running around. They were all wearing the same clothes that they had been running in, barely any food. There was no washroom or running water, any of the things that we take so for granted today. Oh. And they were managed to survive. My grandfather went to shul, and there was a man there who was all alone, and he asked my grandfather again, he says, please let me come and stay with you. Let me live with you. And my grandfather didn't hesitate for a moment and said, yes. I mean, think of it. Think of how we today cherish our privacy and our things and don't get into my space. All of these are such powerful lessons for life. And somehow he managed. I said to my mother yesterday, you know, my grandparents were put into a special holding camp in Switzerland while the children were put into homes. I don't know if you would call it foster homes, but these were people, wonderful people in the Switzerland community that had compassion on these Jewish refugees, and they took the kids into their homes. My mother was with her younger brother. Her sister was with another family. And I said to my mother, when you finally got to see your parents, which was about once in 2 months or so, how was it? Like, how did he react? What did he spend? What was his demeanor like? I mean, imagine how difficult that is. They're in this holding camp. They can't see their children. They can't start a normal life. They can't get past this war yet. They're still there in Switzerland. Was he depressed? Was he melancholy? No, my mother said he was always upbeat, always had a sense of humor. And that's how they got through it. And they came to America. I'm sure it wasn't easy to start life again without $1 in your pocket. My grandfather didn't have it easy making a parnassa, making a living. But there was always this upbeat feeling. And Shabbos in their home was just royal. They just created this atmosphere. There were the prayers, there were the songs, there were the foods. Of course, my grandmother plays a huge role in that. We came in, my grandfather sat at the head of the table. It was a royal table. And Purim, as Chani mentioned, it was just so much fun. No matter what we did, we were lots of cousins, families from all over New York and Monsey, which is about an hour and a half or so from New York. No matter what we were doing in the day of Purim, and as much fun as our lives might have been, we all ended up in my grandparents' house towards the end of Purim, enjoying and celebrating together. Who would think to miss it? Just recently, I dug up some photos. I was a young teenager, and I looked at it. It was Purim, the kind of joy that everybody wants in their life. Real joy, not the kind of joy that's manufactured, the kind of joy that I'm sitting here 50 years later and remembering. So I'll just jump to a very different type of story, which struck me yesterday, and I loved it. I think all of us as women would like it, or as spouses would like it, or people who have any sort of relationship. In the later years, my grandmother went to work every day, whereas my grandfather was home, semi-retired. He did sell certain antiques on the side, but he was mostly at home. And he waited anxiously for my grandmother to come home. What really just warmed my heart, my cousin reminded me of the story as to how when he knew that she was almost home, he had the kettle boiling for her coffee. He had the coffee ready in the cup. And he even took the hard sugar. My grandparents used to drink coffee with hard sugar, those little sugar cubes. And what he did for my grandmother was he took the cube and he broke it into 4 pieces for her so that she wouldn't even have to bite it to break it into the little pieces to have with her coffee. I just thought that was just so beautiful, kind of thing we all, want for. It's the small things in life, but knowing that someone cares about you that much that they want to even break your sugar for you so that you don't have to deal with that. Those are just a few little tidbits. Again, my grandfather was greater, was just larger than life. Bachani just contacted me a few minutes ago, so I figured I can share at least those stories. I definitely did not do him justice. It was a home of happiness and satisfaction with whatever they had. It was just another little bit. My grandmother was a bookkeeper in the school that Chani and I both attended. We went to high school. Chani and I both went actually to grade school and to high school in this school where my grandmother was a bookkeeper. And the thing about her bookkeeping, this was not online. This was with the ledgers. My mother, thank God, she should be well and have lots and lots of nachas from the entire family. My mother has also been a bookkeeper in that school for many, many years. Just now is sort of retiring. And my grandmother used to bring those books home. If something bothered her about the books, if there was a little problem, if the books had to be handed in, if the accountant was coming, she took these books home, ledgers and ledgers, the old ledgers, probably, I don't know who's on this call, but some of you might remember what they looked like. And they would sit at night. Sometimes I would be sleeping there, They would sit at night and go over it again and again and again until every single penny was exact and was accounted for. If they were 1 penny out, they would go over the accounts again and again, even though they could have taken out the penny from their pocket and made it work. But they knew that these are accounts that belong to charity, and therefore we have to be so exact, make sure we have everything exactly, not just for their boss, but for the real boss, and that's God, who sees everything we do, and we have to make sure that everything we do is accounted for. I think these are some very powerful lessons that we can take home with us. And thank you, Chani, for giving me this opportunity and this honor.
Thank you so much. Wow. Anna, I just caught her without much preparation, and she really inspired me, took me to a whole different space in my life, which brought back such beautiful memories. And I hope you enjoyed it. You got a little glimpse of my upbringing in my life and some of what really my mother has been, my parents, but my mother is like a real foundation of my life, and her father and her parents were the same. So Tanya, please tell us what we're going to do next, and then we have a little of a Dvorah, and then
wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up.
That was truly inspirational. Thank you for that. Yes. So let me tell you, for those of you, I'm going to actually give you the next few. I'm just going to pick up the original right now and just quickly explain what's happening. So if you guys could just make sure, I don't know if I'm large or not, but if the host can spotlight me so everyone could see me in big. So right now you have all your solid colors painted. And if you see here, there's some patterns. So we're going to do the black that's on the white with permanent marker very quickly. This one doesn't take too much time. I'm then going to set you up so you know how to finish the painting. So that way, if we hear some more speak or we listen to music, anyone who could finish up has the tools to do so. We are just not to keep anyone longer than they want to be. I'm going to quickly just explain the last steps. So first is going to be the permanent marker. Let's do that together right now. After that's done in about a minute or two, it shouldn't take more than a minute actually. I'm then going to explain how to make polka dots and how to make stripes. And how to outline your painting in black. That's going to be the last thing before you can take off the green tape. So if everyone can just pick up their permanent marker. Can people see me in big?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, sorry, I'm just asking. For some reason, I can't see myself in big anymore. That's why I just want to make sure that you can. So I'm going to hold this up real quick. Really close. So this technique is really just a series of lines. So they're double, a set of 2 lines that are about 1 inch long next to each other. We have them going in all sorts of directions around the white area with little dots afterwards in between. So you would take your permanent marker, you would go to your white section, and you would just start putting these series of 2 lines in different directions. They could come from the top, the sides. You want to sort of change directions. And you kind of want to fill most of that white, that back ray, not necessarily the candle, although you could also put it in the candle if you want to. And once it's mostly, you have a bit on every little part, you would then take your permanent marker and just put a few dots to fill up the space even more. And that's the good thing about working with permanent marker. It's obviously much easier to control than a paintbrush. So I'll let you just do that while I set myself up. explain the colors that are on the patterns. So the yellow is pretty straightforward. It's orange. So you may have made orange already for your flame. Orange is just yellow with a little bit of red mixed together. You get orange if you don't have it ready made. And you would do your stripes and your polka dots in orange on the yellow, which I'll show soon. I'm just explaining color. And then everything that you're doing on your accent color, we'll call it, you're just taking your accent color. So in this case, it was blue. You're just going to lighten that color with white, lighten it, and that's going to be your color. So you're just working now with orange, a lighter version of your accent color. So you're going to do your patterns next. To actually make these circles and to make these stripes, you would basically just, I would recommend doing your, doesn't really matter what you do first, but when you are doing your stripes, you would take your, any sort of flat brush like so, or you could take, there's two ways of doing this. You can either take a brush with a flat edge, or you can take a brush that just looks like, has a long round tip. Very different brush, but they both work. And I'll show you how they both turn out. So if you're making stripes with a brush that has a flat edge like this, you would just want to make sure that you're painting with the narrow angle. You're not twisting it and getting a wide stroke. You're making sure to twist it to the side so you can get a narrow stroke. And you would first just draw out one stripe, then you would paint it in however you want. Again, not being too careful about getting over the lines because you probably won't see those areas afterwards. So that's how to draw, and you want to leave an even amount of space between the stripes, and so on and so forth. And if you are using not a brush that is not flat edged or angled, and you're just using one of these, this works like a pen or a pencil. There's no technique. You would just take the tip and draw out your stripe like you would with a pencil or a pen and just paint it in. So this one you may have a little bit more control with. You may not get as straight of a line, but there doesn't require any technique. And when you are actually making your circles, this brush is probably the best, just a straight round tip. So you could draw out each circle first and then paint it in. I would recommend making them far away from one another to start. You don't want it to be too crowded. And as the area sort of grows, you'll see what's missing if you need to obviously add more. So it doesn't have to be as full as the one at the back, but if you want to make it full, spread them out first. So that's how you make your stripes. That's how you make your polka dots. And obviously, if I got to my light purple, I would switch colors. And that should pattern everything up. And to finish off, you're going to use any single brush you want. If you are using the brush that is just a round tip straight brush, you would just dip it in some black paint. And you would just start to outline everything that you did in permanent marker. So that is the candlesticks, the lines that go across, everything. You're just not outlining where the tape is. You're not outlining the outer part of the canvas. And if you have a brush that's like a more like flat ends like this, or an angled brush, if instead of, you just want to make sure that when you are using it to outline, once again, you are using the narrow end of the brush, not the wide. So you don't want to outline with a wide stroke because you're going to wind up with a super thick line. You want to make sure that you are doing your outline with the correct, you're holding the brush correctly. And you really actually do want to have a nice, significant black outline over everything. This is going to be the part that is really going to make the painting pop, especially if you're using tape and you take off the tape. It's a huge part of the painting. So hope that was good. You can work on your patterns. If you want to actually do your outline and then do your patterns, you could do that as well. but I would recommend doing the stripes first. Those are a little bit harder to do once you have your outline, okay? So that was a lot. Please ask me if you need any clarification on anything I said, okay?
All righty, thank you. And while we finish up those steps, which will take a few more minutes, and
I have a question.
Tanya will stay on. What was that?
I have a question. I just want to see which brush it was for the black paint.
Okay, so the black paint could be just like the round tip thin brush you could use, or you can use any. I would use like an 1/8 of an inch, like not such a big brush.
That one?
Yeah, that one's perfect. You could use that one, okay?
Thank you. Sorry.
Anyone else? No, now's a good time. Tanya's with us still. We want to use her specialty. All right, so I'm going to just say one more thing, and then I would like to introduce my sister, and that's the last speaker. So I know it's getting late. I just figured that we're anyhow painting over here. It's going to take a few more minutes. So I'm going to speak for 1 minute. My sister will speak probably for 2 minutes. We'll get back to Tanya to wrap up, and we will wish everyone a good night because it's getting a little later. So it was nice seeing everyone here. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Tanya, for teaching us how to paint. I'm really, like my mother, not into painting. I have a few sisters who are artistic, but I'm not. So I really enjoyed, it was amazing how clear you were. And I hope everyone enjoyed just remembering about the Purim story, which is the Purim is coming up next week. It begins Thursday night and it ends on Friday. The date, sorry, not next week, in 2 weeks. On the 25th at night, the evening of the 25th. Sorry, I'm my little kid. And it continues till the 26th. So we have just about 2 weeks left. And so this was a little activity to get us into Purim spirit, even though we can't do the parties we usually do every year and the fun festivities, but this is one way we could enjoy. And I hope that you all enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed. And we're just going to end off with my sister, Devora. She was going to share the 4 special mitzvot, the 4 special commandments of the day of Purim. So keep them in mind. And when the 25th comes and the 26th, try to get all of them done if you can in those 24 hours. Nice seeing you all. And here's Devora.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. This was so much fun. It's cool. I love painting in general. I don't know if Sarah was referring to me. I'm not the artistic one. I just enjoy it. But it's so much more fun to paint with other people. And thank you, Tanya. This was really fun. Even when you gave us a set of rules, I see that even 4 people here around the table, and every single one of us, all of our paintings are completely different and unique. So that's really cool. So I'm going to say the 4 mitzvot of Purim. And I was my mom asked me, and I was like, wait, painting? What does painting have to do with Purim? So if anyone has any ideas and could help me out, you could please put it in the chat box. I'd love to hear if anyone has any. I know Shulamit has good ideas. All of you. Who else? I know Lisa always has good ideas. So if you have any ideas, please help me out. So the first, number 1, is Megillah. We hear the Megillah. If you remember, that's when it's read and there's the groggers, and we either shake a grogger by Haman's name, or it's always. And now with this year with COVID, either if you know somebody who could read it for you, or I'm pretty sure there is Zooms going on, so contact your local rabbi. And then the second one, which is giving food to the poor. The whole story of Purim, actually, we were all in danger. We all had this decree upon us. So we're all in this together, and we give you said it's called Matanis Lavionim to one person, or is this Mommy? You want to help me out? Is it you have one or two people? So basically giving to the poor. And the next one is the Seudas Purim, which is the meal. We have a meal, and this also with COVID restrictions, everything's going to be different. But you could always at home, hopefully with your family, and then there's getting back to I was saying about giving to the poor. You give to the poor, give money for 2 meals, so that the poor can. 2 people and they could join in the celebration. And the last one, which is always for me the most fun, is Mishalach Mano, which is to give 2 ready-made foods to 1 person. And hopefully somebody, you could even be a family member, but I'm really excited for Purim, and all these 4 mitzvot, even with COVID, can all be celebrated, and you can do all them. So, yeah. And as Sarah said, the Purim is on the 25th and the 26th, the Thursday night and Friday day.
Is it there? Was Hemla?
Nice. You don't want to see mine yet.
And I think that wraps it up. If Tanya's still there, if there's anything else.
Is anyone finished? Ooh, okay, so I just saw someone holding up a painting. That looks so cool. Everyone's they're looking amazing.
It's not finished yet, but anyway.
Wait till you do your outline. That it's gonna be so. Hey, that looks, Irene, that looks great. You did that with pen?
Yeah, with colored pens.
That must have.
I still have to do this sign with the stripes and all that. Yeah, but that's.
Hats off to you for doing that in pen. That must have not been easy, but it looks great.
No, it wasn't easy.
Karen,
I ended up with 2 different size candles. But it kind of gives you the idea anyway, I guess.
Totally. And I'm looking around and I see some people did completely different colors, and you'll see when you finish it up, it's gonna they're all gonna look like incredible pieces of pop art. Oh, so Karen, you're holding up 2. I like
it's over here. So we each did 1.
We each did 1. So awesome. I love the colors that you did there. Shulamit. So cool. Really cool how they all come together.
The black is very hard, the outline. I'm making a mess of that.
You want to show me the canvas?
Yeah, like the line down the middle, I made it really bad.
So you want to make sure that when you're pressing down, you want to feel stable. So sometimes people shake because they're afraid to make it too thick. If you're using the brush correctly and you're using the narrow edge, not the wide, you should be able to use enough paint and feel stable, meaning like, don't be afraid to press down. Otherwise, you won't have that stability and you'll shake. Okay? So try pressing a little bit harder and let go of that fear to, there's just that fear will get in the way and it'll make the line wobbly.
Thank you.
Okay?
So I just have to show this. I don't know if people see. This isn't mine. I'm really not as talented as my 9-year-old daughter. I'm not saying her name. But
you can guess.
I thought
that's beautiful.
And Shalamis, did you show yours?
They're very humble.
Oh, look at this.
Wow.
And this is mine. So even I can learn, I guess.
Really good.
Wow. Cindy, you made it work with whatever paint you had. That's very impressive.
Yeah, some of them were darker and others more orangey.
And that's on a notepad. That is so cool.
So yeah, it was a little small to get some of the there.
No, but you made it work. That is really cool. Lisa, that's awesome.
Thanks so much for having us join you family event. The art of your grandfather. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to leave my Zoom on so you can continue, but it was such a pleasure painting with everybody, and I want to wish everyone happy Purim. Thank you, Khani, and everyone who organized this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We so enjoyed.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Devorah.
Thank you.